How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Tzadi Gimel, Daf 93 of Masechta BavaBasra. Friends. Okay. Oh, is that what we're up to? Oh my gosh. Feels like ages ago. I'm in Pshischa right now, in Poland. Yeah, I've come to Poland, to Pshischa, and I need to record a Daf Gemara now. I don't even know where I am. What time is it? I don't know. It's 4:30 in the morning. But I don't even know what Daf, because I've been learning different Dafs on planes, and I don't know. So I'm just trying to remember where I was. I have this gnarly cup of coffee with me, Chaim. So I think it just feels like it was ages ago. What day is? I think it's Monday. When did I learn this? I think I learned this on Shabbat. Anyways, did I review it on the plane? I don't even know what's what. But anyways, this is to say that I think we're in the middle of the machlokes between Rav and Shmuel about, do we go based on Rov when it comes to Mamonis? The Rav says yes, we go based on Rov, and Shmuel says that we don't go based on Rov when it comes to Mamonis. We only go based on Rov when it comes to Yisurin, Isha V'Heter. Okay, so being that I think that is correct, we're going to start on Daf Tzadi Gimel Amud Aleph, halfway through the Amud Lema Ketanoi. So let's say that this inyan of whether or not we go by Rov is Taka Machlekes Tanoi. So Lemek Tanoi. Shor Shoyeroye O. So if you have a ox that was grazing, V'nimtza Shor Harug Betzido. So you have an ox, and the ox was grazing, and there's a lot of oxes there. There's like a bunch of them, and V'nimtza Shor Harug Betzido, and you see a dead ox. So there's a dead ox, and then there's another ox that's next to the dead ox, and there are also other oxes around. Now, interestingly, the dead ox was gored to death, and the ox next to it is an ox that was known to be a gorer. Or this dead ox was bitten to death, and this ox that was near it was known to be a biter. So therefore, it seems like the writing's on the wall, right? You have a dead ox; it's gored to death. The ox next to it has a reputation, is known to be a goring ox. So the question is, do we connect the dots? Do we say that, well, obviously what happened is the goring ox gored the dead ox to death? We don't say that. We don't say, well, it must be that this ox gored the other one to death. We don't say that. Reb Acha Gomel, that even when it comes to a camel, so if you have a camel that is mating, and apparently when camels mate, they go shtickle mashige, and they can kill any other camels that are around. So, and there is a dead camel next to the mating camel. So, so Acha says that we can assume that the mating camel killed the dead camel, and Kavachomer, when it comes to an ox that we know to be a goring ox or a biting ox, and there's a dead ox next to it, a bitten to death ox or a gored to death ox next to it, certainly then Rabacha would say you can connect the dots and draw the conclusion that it was killed by the other ox, right? Meaning, even by a camel where it's kind of not known to be a killing camel, it's just mating right now, still Rabacha would say that we can conclude that the dead camel was killed by the mating camel. Certainly you'd be able to say by the ox that we'd assume that it is that sort of dangerous ox that is nearby. So we see a machloikes between the Tanna Kama and Rabbi Acha with regard to can we go based on chazak, right? Can we say that this ox has a chazaka of, let's just say the ox has a chazaka of being a goring cow, and therefore we'll assume that it is that cow that did the goring. Tanna Kama says no. Rabbi Acha bar Yaakov says yes. And we also want to assume, now this is going to be sort of the important link, we also want to assume that that we can kind of link rov and chazaka, meaning if you're going to say that chazaka is a thing, so then you also say that rov is a thing. If you're going to say that chazaka is not a thing, so then you can say that rov is not a thing. So therefore, according to Tanna Kama, who says that we don't assume based on chazaka that it is the goring ox that did the goring, so Tanna Kama would also not hold of rov, i.e. would be like Shmuel. And Rabbi Acha says that we do go based on the chazaka, he would also assume of rov like Rav. Okay, I'm gonna take another sip of this coffee over here. It's just instant black coffee. It's not terrible. Let's see if it does anything. Okay, so let's assume that rov and chazaka essentially are the same, and therefore lema Rav da Mikrabacha. Therefore, Rav who says that we go based on rov would be like Rav Acha who says that we go based on chazaka. Shmuel da Tanna Kama, and Shmuel who says that we don't go based on rov is like the Tanna Kama who says we don't go by chazaka. Amalach Rav. So to which the Gemara says no, both Rav and Shmuel are going to, can make the argument that Rabbi Acha and the Tanna Kama would both agree with them. So Amalach Rav would say to you, look, I say that by Momin, we go by Rov. And sure, Rabbi Acha would, who says that we go based on Chazaka, would, fine, we could say that, right, that I'm in line with Rabbi Acha, but I'm also in line with the Tanna Kama who says that we don't go based on the Chazaka because I could say, right, my opinion is even consistent with Tanna Kama because Arkan lo kama Tanna Kama awesome. The Tanna Kama says by the ox, because okay, we don't go based on the chazaka, but chazaka and rov are under zachin, the two different things. Tanna Kama say, yeah, we don't go based on the chazaka to assume that the nearby ox gored the gored ox. We don't go based on that chazaka, but in terms of rov, Tanna Kama would hold of rov, like me, argues Rav Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel says, and Shmuel says that I, who do not hold of rov by mominus, could even say like Reb Acha, because Reb Acha, what does Reb Acha say over there? He says that when you have an animal that has a chazaka of, goring, for example, so there's something inherent in that animal that makes it likely that it would have done it, right? This ox is a goring ox, and there's a gored ox right there. But rov, which doesn't have anything inherent in it, it's just sort of a numbers thing. Shmuel would argue that Rabbi Acha would agree with him that when it comes to rov, we would not say rov by mominus, right? I'm consistent with Rabbi Acha. Rabbi Acha says that we go based on the chazaka, who gufe muchzak, because the animal itself is muchzak, has a chazaka of being the one who would have killed it. Aval basa ruba lo azlinin. But Shmuel argues that Rabbi Acha would say that we wouldn't just go based on a rov. Okay, have a shtickle more of this coffee. Tashma, come in here. Hamocher peris lachavero, or Toshma mocher peris lachavero, v'zorim v'lo tzamchu. Givaldik. So this is now the tie-in to our Mishnah, right? Finally, right? We had this Mishnah, Tzadi Beis and Aleph, Hamocher peris lachavero, v'zorim v'lo tzamchu, etc. Also, we start talking about machloksin, about do people buy cows for shchita, do they buy chow cows, plow cows? Finally, we're starting to kind of bring it home. Tashma Kamir, Hamocher peris lachavero, if Shimon sells fruits to Reuven, Vizarin, Reuven plants the fruits, v'lo tzamchu, and nothing becomes of them. They don't become fruit trees. Vafilu zera pishton, even if we're talking about flax seeds, now most flax seeds are sold for planting. Some are sold for eating, for medical purposes, but most are for planting. And even if they are flax seeds, Eino chayev b'achrayuson, Shimon is not liable to pay restitution for the fact that the seeds didn't amount to anything. My afilu, what is this afilu that we're saying by the flax? Afilu zera, where am I? My afilu, lava afilu zera pishton. Is it not saying that even when it comes to flax seeds, deruba lizriya zabne, where most people purchase flax seeds to plant them, and even so, laws lina basura, we don't go based on the rove. Right? If we'd go based on the rove, well, most people buy flax seeds for planting. Reuven bought flax seeds; he planted them. Nothing grew. He should be entitled to restitution. But the Mishnah says he's not. I.e., the fact that most people buy flax seeds for planting seems to be irrelevant. And therefore we don't go based on the rove. And it's like Shmuel. It's unlike Rav. So says the Gemara, Tanoi, it's taka machlokes, Tanoim, the Tanya is we learn in a brayso, Hamocher peris lachavero. We learn in a brayso, if Shimon sells fruits to Reuven, Vizaron v'lo tzamchu, and Reuven planted them, and they didn't, nothing grew. Zeronigina. So if we're talking about zeronigina, if we're talking about garden seeds, she'ein echolin, which are not edible, the only thing you can do with them is plant them, and Reuven planted them, and nothing came of them. So zeronigina she'ein echolin chayev b'achrayuson. So then Shimon asked to pay restitution. Zer pishton enu chayev b'achrayuson. But flax seeds, Shimon does not need to pay restitution. So even though the majority of flax seeds are for planting, Shimon does not need to pay restitution for the fact that nothing grew. Rabbi Yossi says, Rabbi Yossi, nosen lo d'mei zera. Rabbi Yossi says that Shimon does need to pay restitution because the flax seeds didn't grow. Okay, let's go weiter. Amlo, they said to Rabbi Yossi, lots of people buy flax seeds for other things, actually, for eating, for medicinal purposes. Man tanoi. Okay, so now let me. Okay, fine. So let me just say this for a second. If I understand, I think I understand this correctly. Wait, let me just see something quick. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so here's the thing, friends. So be'etzem there are, okay, in this brisa, there are three opinions when it comes to flax seeds. There's the opinion of the Tanakama. The Gemara is going to kind of go back and forth and kind of get to what I'm saying right now, but I'm just going to say it right now. And I'm also going to take another sip of coffee. 1 second. So there's three opinions in this brisa. There's the opinion of the Tanakama, who says that, who's not interested in any kinds of ropes. Okay? That the Tanakama says that Reuven is not entitled to restitution for these flax seeds that didn't amount to anything, that didn't grow. Now, Rabbi Yossi says, wait, but most flax seeds are purchased for planting. And therefore, because most flax seeds are purchased for planting, Reuven is entitled to restitution. Now, the third opinion is this Amrulo. They said to him, what did they say to Rabbi Yossi? They said, well, actually, interestingly, yes, we go by Rove, but it's like Albert Einstein's theory of relativity. Do you go based on the Rove of the seeds, or do you go based on the Rove of the people? Because interestingly, yes, while most flax seeds are purchased for planting, most people who buy flax seeds do not buy it for planting. They buy it for other purposes, like for to eat or medicinal purposes. Meaning, while you might have one person who buys 10 sa'ah of flax seeds for planting, you might have 100 people who together are buying a total of only 1 sa'ah, but for other purposes. So therefore, if you go based on, at a margin of 100 to 1, there are way more people that are buying flax seeds for other reasons. Most people who are buying flax seeds are not buying flax seeds for planting. They're buying flax seeds to eat or for medicine. However, even if 100 people might buy flax seeds for other purposes, altogether they're only buying 1 sa'ah of flax seeds, whereas you might have one person who's buying flax seeds for planting, but he's going to buy a quantity 10 times the amount of all of the other 100 people together, that he's going to buy 10 sa'ah of seeds for planting. So therefore, if you go at a margin of 10 to 1, most flax seeds are for planting. But at a margin of 10 to 1, most people who buy flax seeds don't buy it for planting. They buy it for other reasons. And therefore, so basically, the Tanakama in this brisa doesn't say anything about Rove. He says, look, Reuven has no right to restitution. End of the story. Rabbi Yossi says that, well, we go based on Rove. And most flax seeds are for planting, and therefore Reuven has the right to restitution. And then the third opinion is they say to Rabbi Yossi, well, it actually depends which Rove you go on. Yeah, sure, you're saying the Rove of flax seeds, but actually we're going to say that the Rove of people who buy flax seeds don't buy it for planting, and therefore Reuven is not entitled to restitution. So Man Tanoi, says the Gemara, who is the Machlokas Tanoim over here? Ilem Rabbi Yossi v'Amulo. If you're going to say that the Machlokas is between Rabbi Yossi and that third opinion of Amulo, but Tarvayu Basaruba Azle, both Rabbi Yossi and the Amulo, they're actually both going based on Rove. My Ozu Basaruba de Inche, my Ozu Basaruba de Zriya. That the Amulo is going based on the Rove of the people who buy it for non-planting reasons, and Rabbi Yossi goes based on the Rove of the seeds, which are mostly for planting. Eli Itanakama of Rabbi Yossi, Itanakama of Amulo. Rather, the Machlokes is either between the Tanakama, who doesn't say Rove at all, and Rabbi Yossi, who goes based on the Rove of seeds, or between the Tanakama, who doesn't go by Rove at all, and the Amulo, who go by the majority of people who buy flax seeds. But we see that there's a machlokes between the Tanakama, who says that we don't go based on Rove by Mominus like Shmuel, and either Rabbi Yossi or the Amulo, who say that we do go based on Rove by Mamanis. Tanu Rabbanon, the Avsat Ma'u no saying low. So what? Okay. So we said in the Mishnah that when it comes to, like garden seeds. Okay. No. What do we say in the Mishnah? We said in the Mishnah, Reb Shimon Gamliel Omer Zer'one Gino she'eino necholin chay b'achriusun. That when it comes to garden seeds, which are not eaten at all, so therefore Shimon must pay Reuven restitution. So, so what is the restitution? What does Shimon pay Reuven? Does he pay Reuven just the value of the seeds? Okay, Reuven bought seeds. They did not, they were duds. So does Shimon just pay back Reuven for the seeds? But at the same time, if you think about it, actually the seeds may be the least of the issue. Shimon sold Reuven duds. Reuven didn't know that they were duds. He then hired workers. They plowed the field. They planted. They watered. They cried. They loved. Gunished. Nothing came of it. The seeds are just the beginning of Reuven's issues. So the question is, what now? So what is Shimon now responsible for? Is he just responsible for the seeds, or do we say no? He's not just responsible for the seeds. He's responsible to all the Facebook meta things that that emerged around the seeds as well, such as the workers that he hired and the labor that was invested. What does Shimon pay Reuven for restitution? Dmei zera v'lo otza. So the first opinion is, I guess it's a brisa. So Tanna Kama says, just the value of the seeds. That's it. V'yeshom af otza. And there's another opinion that says that Shimon is responsible even for sort of all that kind of Facebook meta expense that was incurred as well. So fine. Where am I? Well, I know where I am. Where's my brain? Where is my brain? Man yesh omrim says yesh. So who is the yesh omrim? The shaila is, who is the yesh omrim? Who is this opinion that says even the Facebook meta expenses? Amr Chizah says of Chizah Reb Shimon Gamliel. It is the opinion of Reb Shimon Gamliel. Hey, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Which opinion? How do we know it's Reb Shimon Gamliel? Which opinion of Reb Shimon Gamliel is this? Ilem Reb Shimon Gamliel Damas Nisin. If we're going to say Reb Shimon Gamliel from our Mishnah, the Tanan, as we learn in our Mishnah, that if this next bit reads a little funny, I hope I'm reading it correctly. Shimon sells fruits to Reuven, Vizarin, Reuven plants them. They did not grow into anything. Even if we're talking about flax, Shimon is not responsible to pay restitution to Reuven. And then the Seifa says, Reb Shimon Gamliel says, Reb Shimon Gamliel Zer'one Gino she'enu necholin chay b'achrayuson. That garden seeds that are not eaten, they're only planted. So then Shimon is responsible to pay Reuven restitution. Okay. So I think the idea is that the Tanna Kama doesn't say anything about restitution for garden seeds. Reb Shimon Gamliel does. So the assumption is when Reb Shimon Gamliel does require Shimon to pay restitution, is only for the seeds. That's it. Just for the seeds. So therefore, if we're trying to explain that Reb Shimon Gamliel would say that he has to pay that Shimon has to pay restitution also for the Facebook meta expenses, that would not come from our Mishnah. But it says the Gemara, actually it could come from our Mishnah because Tanna Kama nami achi ka'amar. No, the Tanna Kama agrees. Tanna Kama also holds that if Shimon sold Reuven garden seeds, which are only for planting, and they turned out to be duds, that Shimon would have to pay Reuven restitution. Tanna Kama also agrees with that. Zera Pishton, who de'eno chay b'achrayus. And Tanna Kama is also saying that flax seeds Shimon is not responsible for paying restitution. But garden seeds, which are not eaten, they're only planted. Even the Tanakama would say that Shimon would be responsible to pay restitution to Reuven. Okay, well, if that's the case, then what's the machlokes between the Tanakama and Shimon and Gamliel? Rather, it must be that the nafkamina between the Tanakama and Shimon and Gamliel is the Facebook Meta expenses. Mar sovar demei zero mar sovar af otza. The Tanakama says just the value of the seeds, whereas Reb Shimon Gamliel would say even the Facebook Meta expenses. Wait, but how do we know? Maybe it's fakert. Maybe the Tanakama is the one who says that Shimon has to pay the Facebook Meta fees, and Reb Shimon Gamliel says only the price of the value of the seeds. Halokashino, that's not a question, because kol BavaBasra tafui milsa ka osi. Because whenever you're going to have a scenario like this, right, where the Tanakama says that you're going to be chayiv to pay for the seeds, and Reb Shimon Gamliel also comes along and says you're going to pay for the seeds. So Reb Shimon Gamliel, just sort of the structure of the Mishnah the Mishnah would be built. I feel like I'm not saying this well, but basically just the way that it works in general is that if you have an opinion of the Tanakama and you have an opinion, and then somebody else comes to bring opinion. So, for example, we're now bringing in the opinion of Shimon Gamliel. Shimon Gamliel is going to be adding on to the opinion of the Tanakama, not the opposite, not saying less than the Tanakama. So, if the Tanakama says that Shimon is going to be chayiv for restitution by garden seeds, and if Shimon Gamliel is coming to also say that Shimon is going to be chayiv for restitution, he's going to be chayiv for restitution. Not just for the garden seeds, but also he's going to be adding on to it and saying also for the Facebook Meta expenses. V'dilma kula Reb Shimon Gamliel. But wait, maybe actually there isn't a Tanakama and Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Maybe Taka, the Gans Mishnah, maybe the entire Mishnah is only the opinion of Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. You have to kind of massage the Mishnah and read it in the following way. That if Shimon sells fruits to Reuven, V'zaron, Reuven plants them. V'lo tzamchu, they didn't grow into anything. Afilu zer pishton, even if we're talking about flax, eino chayav b'achrayuson, Shimon is irresponsible for the to pay restitution. I know that irresponsible doesn't make sense in this context. I'm sorry. Divrei Reb Shimon Gamliel, and this is the opinion of Reb Shimon Gamliel. Reb Shimon Gamliel Omer, because Reb Shimon Gamliel says their own egino she'eno ne'echolin chayav b'achrayuson, because Reb Shimon Gamliel would say that only by garden seeds Shimon would be chayav to pay restitution. So meaning, in that case, we can explain that the entire Mishnah is taka the opinion of Reb Shimon Gamliel, in which case all we know is that Reb Shimon Gamliel is saying that Shimon needs to pay for the seeds, but we wouldn't know what his opinion would be vis-a-vis the Facebook Meta expenses. I'm going to chapash to more of this coffee. Where am I? Elahar Reb Shimon Gamliel. Rather, it's the following opinion of Shimon Gamliel. Tanya is within a brayse. Hamalachitin litchon, that if somebody, let me actually read this from the Gemara, because I feel like I needed to look up from the article. There's some stuff I need to look up, but I didn't look it up. Fine. Hamalachitin litchon, somebody takes wheat to a miller. Ooh, that's nice. V'lo l'sasan, and the miller did not moisten it with water before grinding it, vasan subano morsan, and as a result, processed it into coarse bran or fine bran. Kemachanachtom, or if he gives it, this I think I can get back into the regular Gemara now. So where am I? Okay, fine. Hamalchitin litchon velo lisason V'asan subin. So he brought the wheat to the miller, but the miller was irresponsible essentially, and he made it into bad flour. Subin or morson. Kemach anachtam, if he gave flour to a baker, v'afo pas ni Poland, but he didn't succeed in making a bread. It, I don't know, didn't rise or whatever. Behem l'tabach v'nivlo, he gave an animal to a shoichet, and it became nevela. So be'etzem, he lost whatever he gave to the person. So the person, the miller, the baker, the shoichet is going to be chayav to pay back. Let's say Shimon is the sort of guy who was hired to do the work, the poil. So Reuven is entitled to restitution because he's basically paying Shimon, and therefore Shimon is going to be responsible for that. Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer says, Rav Shimon Gamliel nosin lo d'mei boshta v'd'mei boshas orchav. Rav Shimon Gamliel says it doesn't stop. It doesn't end there. Rav Shimon Gamliel says it doesn't end there. Shimon isn't just chayav. Let's say he gave a sheep to a shoichet. Shimon isn't just chayav to pay the value of the sheep that became an avela, but also the fact that Reuven is now embarrassed in front of his guests, and that his guests now don't have anything to eat. And it's a whole mess. Shimon needs to pay for the whole mess. Similarly, Reb Shimon Gamliel would say, Minig Gadol Hayu b'Yerushalayim, there's a great minig in Jerusalem, if somebody, I guess it's maybe like a caterer, and he gives a suda provides a suda. Shimon is the caterer, he provides a suda for Reuven, but the suda is all messed up. In addition to the, I guess getting his money back, Shimon also needs to pay for the boshes of Reuven and his guests. There's another great minig in Jerusalem, they would have, I guess, some cloth hanging from a doorway. As long as this I don't know, sheet or something was on the doorway, people would have an indication that they can go in and chaparain and eat epis. But once the sheet went away, so then the people wouldn't go chaparain anymore. All right, well that was Daf Tzadi Gimel. Masechta BavaBasra wasn't too hard, which is great. The next few daf are going to be a little bit more complicated, I think. It's hard to tell when you're learning and reviewing on airplanes and stuff, because it's hard to tell if it's actually difficult, or if your brain is just not there. But interesting stuff coming up. Yeah, so today we really, we kind of got up to the next Mishnah, and we discussed that sugya, that machlokas between Rav and Shmuel about do we go based on Rov when it comes to Mamonis. Rav, of course, says yes, Shmuel says no. And essentially we said it is a machlokas tanoim. Peace out.